Well, we'll just take that as a sign to go ahead and get started, I suppose. Okay, well, guys, like I said, we're going to start off this meeting with some wins. Be thinking about it. What good is happening in the business? I'll go ahead and start. I have Laura here with Pierce Electric. They're in their first month of working with us, or maybe we might be in our second month now. They're newer client. And they're implementing a ton of changes. And so I kind of want to brag about them because they are just being so diligent about implementing those changes, even when they feel a little bit of doubt or it's a little bit of, a little scary. We know that at first change is hard. And so just want to give them a shout out. But she said wins of the week is they hired a couple of guys, bought a new software, and despite all of the changes, her business partner and her are still speaking. So, we're going to celebrate it, especially considering they're siblings. Going to celebrate it. Getting along with the sibling stuff, even when you don't own a business together. So, Laura's so excited for all the changes that we're implementing here and happy to have you on this call. What other wins are we having here today? Would love for you to put it in the chat, unmute, share. There's no rhyme or reason or way we go about it. Just tell us what good is happening.
Our HVAC team got to win. I think it was last week. Travis, we went over our numbers and he said to increase the price by 10 to 20. I think he said gradually. But our HVAC team, Anthony, took it to the extreme and increased prices by about 15 to 20%. And he's still closing jobs and going well. It's kind of good to see that, when we have issues, like we got one flat tire, truck had to get towed. Like it didn't really phase us because we have, the funds needed for repairs and stuff like that needed. So that's a win for us.
Absolutely.
The other half of that win that I kind of want to share is part of the reason we were able to identify that there was probably room is because Fernando and Anthony do a great job tracking. And so we were reviewing actual numbers and data points, and that's what led us to it. Implemented the price increase, and lo and behold, still closing jobs, but all of that money is just additional profit. There's not, every bit that they're charging extra goes straight to that bottom line. So, but they're able to do that through tracking, which I think is shout out to those guys, because without that, we may not have been able to identify that.
Yes. We know tracking is hard, guys. And it's one of the first things we implement, and you probably get sick of hearing us, but this is why we're so passionate about tracking. It allows you to make these super smart decisions. So congratulations, Fernando. What other wins are we having here this morning? Love for you to unmute and share.
I have a couple.
Mark, tell us.
A couple, come on.
The week of the 3rd through the 7th, I had closed 100% of my jobs.
Whoa.
So 19 houses of shutters during that week. Last week I closed out of 16, I closed 15. And the only reason the 16th wasn't, they're on vacation and they're going to make a deposit when they get back.
Heck yeah, Mark, that's huge.
Also closed a job in Orange Beach, Alabama. So Saturday morning, they're flying me out in a private jet to go measure this job. So that should be a fun experience.
Wow. That's so cool.
So exciting. Mark, could you tell us a little bit maybe about your sales process? Like what you're seeing is working? Are you giving estimates in person, or like what do you think is contributing to that high closing ratio?
Most of the jobs right now, I've got it used to be a vast supply of, I've got dealers that sell my product, so I don't even have to pick up the phone to get customers with them. They call me. I am transitioning to more retail, and so far most of that's just been word of mouth. We're trying to get my Google presence. get a better grip on the Google and then trying to, we may start advertising. I've been working with Travis on doing that too.
Yes. Awesome. Well, congratulations, Mark, on those closing ratios, and you'll have to keep us posted on how this new job goes. It sounds like a very exciting opportunity.
It's an 11,000 square foot beach house in Orange.
Ooh, goodness. I have a hard time not being jealous on that one.
That is about 10 times the size of my house.
Yeah.
That's a
Most people's houses. Yeah, goodness. And it's their second home. It's just wild. What other wins are we having here today? Oh my God. Ugh. What other wins are we having here today, guys?
I have a win if you guys don't mind if I share.
We want you to share. Tell us.
Nope, Elias, you're excluded.
Oh, okay. Never mind,
Go
guys.
ahead now. Come on.
So we've been working on like an agricultural project out in Tonopah, Arizona. It's like produce processing warehouses. And they're all insulated and stuff, and they get down to like -10 degrees Celsius. And it's a pretty cool project to start with. But we were awarded the first 2 buildings, and then we were just awarded and told by the general contractor that we would be doing the next 3 buildings starting in September or August. So we're excited for that.
Woo!
It's gonna be a big project. Big project.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome whenever you get more work from the merit of the work you've done for somebody. That's great.
Yep.
That testifies to quality.
Yeah, we're excited. So thought I'd share that.
Heck yeah.
Well, I guess I'll jump in here real quick.
James.
Jay with Rocking J Construction.
Yes.
Only been
Let's
here
go.
for about a week, I guess. But
Yeah.
so my wins aren't quite as big as you guys at this point. But I got my business page optimized and my local services page optimized. I've got you'll be proud of me, Bryce. I've got 15 new Google reviews in the last 24 hours.
That's right.
Let's go.
So,
Heck
I've been
yeah.
seeing
So
them come in.
baby steps, man, but every day.
Yes,
Oh my
sir.
gosh. Huge win. And James, every single person here, or almost every single one, can testify to how hard it is to get a Google business listing up a lot of the times. And 2, how hard it is to get freaking Google reviews. You know, people will tell you they're going to leave one and they don't. And so, like, I know you feel like it's a small win, but everybody here is going to tell you that is not. And so
Yeah.
just keep it up, sir. Congratulations.
Yeah. And I think
appreciate
too, Jay, you're really taking off and getting to the races as soon as you've started here. And I think everybody that's been here a while would also tell you, man, I wish I would have done some of the stuff we talked about sooner, because they know the result that comes. So you're doing the right stuff, man. That's awesome.
Amen.
Appreciate it.
Michael, I see your hand raised. Tell us what's happening.
Join Bryce. What the hell are you wearing?
It's
Michael, I love that because every time he wears that shirt, I'm like, Bryce,
hey,
dude.
Oh my God, I'm like, I put my glasses on to make sure I was seeing it correctly, and I am. That's even worse.
yeah. No, we used to do a thing. I'm the only one that's kept it alive, but we used to do Tropical Thursdays, and every once in a while I'll throw out this is my one like true Hawaiian shirt. So
Oh my gosh.
thanks for keeping me honest, Mike.
I love it. I love it. That just made my day personally. Dale, I see your comment here. You said, man, that let's go sounded so much like Rudy.
Oh,
We
gosh.
love Rudy. We love that you guys are keeping him alive here in Redmond Grove. And we adore him, and we hope to bring the energy that he would bring to these calls. Just
That's my goal
Appreciate-
every day.
yes, let's bring some Rudy energy. What other wins are we having here today, guys?
Is it you, Mike? Are you trying to put your hand up?
Yeah, I got I passed 100 referrals or whatever you call leads for the year, and I've got a
Awesome.
completion rate of 83%.
Awesome. That's awesome. Mike does
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Mike does flagpole installations up in the Northwest. So, or sorry, Northeast. So that's a good amount of leads.
Yes. That is huge. Congratulations. I imagine this year is a busy one for you, just with election year and everything going on.
Yeah. Yes, it is, especially with the election.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. What other wins are we having here today, guys? We just so appreciate you sharing.
If I'm allowed to share another one, I have another one.
Oh, we
Go
love
for
it. Share it.
Gray Electric just hired two new employees as well on Monday morning that actually showed up and are actually doing a fantastic job.
Hey.
I love that last part.
That's
That
a big
is
deal
all
as well.
good. Oh yeah. Again, there's so many people on this call who can testify to the, we're excited we hire somebody, but we're not going to get our hopes up until we see if they show up, and how they show up. And so congratulations, Elias. I hope they continue to be great fits for the company.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate that.
Yes. What other wins are we having here today, guys?
I've got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Oh no.
Yesterday, and I thought I got an email.
Oh, Steve, I hate to say it, buddy, but I think you're breaking up pretty bad here. You might have to put it in the chat.
Well, with that, if anybody's got any other wins, feel free to interject. But it sounds like Steve was going to ask a question, so I'll go ahead and transition us here into. If you have any questions, burning fires, things going on in the business, what all's going on that we want to get some insight and
Yeah. And before I see hands going up. Love to see it. Laura did put in the chat earlier this call a question. And so I'm going to read hers off first
Nice.
before it gets buried with all of the others. And then Brandon, I see your hand up. We will definitely get to you and anybody else who has questions. But Laura, she's with Pierce Electric. They do commercial and residential electrical work over in California. And they are a service-based company. And so her question is kind of more so for those service-based contractors, our plumbers, electricians, HVAC guys. Do you call around to your competitors and ask for estimates or pricing just to compare with yours? If you have, what kind of questions have you asked? Are you using a burner phone? She's asking. And so just kind of curious if any of you have done that, what your process has looked like, just to kind of do what we call a little bit of competitive shopping. Anybody have some feedback for?
I have some.
okay. Oh,
Like,
go ahead,
Clayton, tell us.
So in our area, we get a lot of, clients that call, or not clients, but subcontractors that call looking for work. When they call us, I take that time to kind of, scrutinize them on their billing and what they're charging, things of that nature. That's kind of what we do.
Love it.
So was the question, hey, it's Steven again. I finally got some Wi-Fi.
Love it.
Oh, nice.
So my question was, is everybody on this call HVAC, electrical? I'm a concrete guy. I don't even know if I belong here, but I thought I'd try it.
A lot of contractors on this call, but you've got a pretty wide variety, Stephen. You've got remodelers, you've got concrete guys, you've got commercial, you've got residential, HVAC, plumbing. You got, most of them are, I would say 90% of our clients are contractors of some sort. And so you got a mixed bag.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think we maybe got a bigger shop. I didn't know what the call was about, but I'm in Minnesota and Florida, so not on the West Coast, but we do about 3,000 residential projects a year. So I've been doing this 40 years, and we've scaled to the point where we're selling to a private equity right now and expanding nationally.
Wow, cool.
So I feel the pain of these guys who are just starting now. It's tough, but I would say my one piece of advice to any small guy, especially HVAC, is I've got a company, the one in Minnesota I own. We have almost tripled that thing in the last 7 years, and I would give most of the credit to software, especially for HVAC and electrical. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there. We run on Service Titan right now, but if you're for the smaller guys, if you're like House Call Pro, a friend of mine runs in San Diego, which I think the vast majority of his guys are HVAC and electrical. And for my company, just that software scale, we've gone from the shop in Minneapolis, we've gone from like 14 to 30 million, 35 million in literally 7 years. And I don't think my overhead has gone up maybe 3 or 4%. So
That's awesome, Stephen. We're so happy to have you here. I would say the majority of our clients are using Service Titan, our House Call Pro. And then for our remodelers, I think most of them are using Builder Trend or a similar comparable one to Builder Trend. And we definitely encourage those softwares to help with your scheduling and managing jobs and estimating and all of that. And so thank you for sharing, Stephen, and so happy to have you here. Kind of circling back to Laura's question here. We do encourage competitive shopping, and you don't necessarily need to have a burner phone. You can just call, I wouldn't probably use your office line, but like a cell or something, just call and you just act like you're a customer booking something. What I will say is we don't put a ton of stock into that. Your prices are what they have to be in order for you to make the margins that you have to make. And so if you know your numbers, if you're tracking, and I know that you do because I've seen your P&Ls, if you're tracking your numbers accurately and you're tracking your KPIs accurately, you're going to know what your prices need to be in order to pull the margins that you need to pull. And so I wouldn't put a ton of stock into other people's prices. It is good to just know if you're in the ballpark. But a lot of times the prices that somebody's giving you over the phone are not going to be 100% accurate anyways. A lot of times what they're giving you over the phone is what they're trying to give you to get you to book the job. And then it's going to probably change a little bit once you're out there. And so it's totally good if you want to call around, just pretend you're a customer, use your cell and get a little bit of an idea. But we don't want to necessarily marry our prices to the information that you get from that competitive shopping.
Yeah. And I would say too, with that, Laura, 100% agree with what Nicole said, that your prices need to be what they need to be in order to make your margins right, whether you're around somebody else's prices or not. And if you find that you're wildly higher and you're still tight, then maybe you need to look at internally your P&L, where am I overspending if I can't get close to this? But as far as mystery shopping itself, yeah, I agree. You don't have to get a burner phone, but you also don't have to make up this big, deep backstory like you're an undercover secret agent or anything like that. You can just be a tire kicker, the person that you really dislike yourself, and just say, hey, I was wondering how much it would cost to do whatever. And unless they have somebody really good answering the phones, that's okay. Yeah, I can answer that. Let me get a couple pieces of information. What's your name? What's your email? What's your phone? What's your address? That's something that you can get decent information from just from that. But it's also a great opportunity to learn how other people, if they do get that kind of information from you, rather than giving you the information, study their process, how they answer the phone. So it's a really valuable thing for you to learn the strategy, I guess, for how you can train your team to take out internal calls.
So I'll chime in and answer this question directly. We just did this in Denver. I own a garage floor coating company in Denver, and we do about 700 or 800. It's a small business, 700 or 800 jobs a year. And I literally had this, I paid the secretary to do the undercover gig, if you will. But, and I'm happy to share the spreadsheet, basically all the questions we asked. And I think what the guys would learn from this, especially the guy who closes 10 out of 10 jobs, I seriously question if he's charging enough money, right?
Yes.
And I think you're going to learn in a hurry that, because people, my salesmen come back all the time and say, hey, I'm getting beat down. Our close rate's about 35, 36%, which sounds low, but we're not cheap, right? And we just did this exercise in Denver, and we figured out we're like 45 cents a square foot below the average. So I'm raising my prices again, right? Not lowering them. I'm raising them based on whatever the market can stand. And then we're going to take a look at the inside and see where our closing rates are low if my price isn't highest, right?
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, and
Good.
that's pretty consistent. You know, we all the coaches here have been at Redmond Growth for quite some time, and I can say in the 6 years I've been here, I don't know if I've ever had anybody come to us pricing too high. Typically, you know you're right where you need to be, or you're a little low. Typically, there's a lot of wiggle room,
Right.
especially if you're not keeping up with inflation. You know, especially how crazy it's been the past 2 years. Typically, there's going to be some room, but I still want to circle back with, if you know your numbers, if you're looking at your numbers, you know your margins, that's what you want to base your prices off of more than anything else. And if your margins are just wild, you know, then we can look at, why is the overhead so high? What do we need to do to lower that? You know, but that's what you want to base your prices off of more than anything else. Brandon, I know you've had your hand up here. I would love for you to unmute and tell us what's going on.
Well, we've been out of the office for a couple days, and of course, as soon as you leave the office, everything falls apart. And there's only 4 of us in the company, and so it just came to mind as we're setting up systems and we're repeating the systems and training the systems, especially when we're small. There's only a few of us. How often do you step back far enough to let the systems fail, and what's everyone's strategy for not to step in and save the system, but to help the employees come up with a plan to address that themselves? And how often do you do that, if you do that intentionally? I'm realizing in real time that I'm not doing that intentionally enough.
Yeah, that's good. If others have stuff, feel free to chime in, but I'll go first on just a small tidbit to give some time to think about it. But that is a great question. Most of the time, people that we're working with, that happens just like it has for you, where they either got sick and were taken out of the office, or they, you know, scheduled a vacation and might not have been the most ideal time, but you know what, they're just going to give it all they can and actually be present. And so then it does. The only way to test a system is to put it to use. The only way to check a checklist is to have people utilize it. So I think there's definitely value, like you said, if you can do that to a certain extent, where I don't know if it's something you make a 6-month rule on, where you every 6 months you try to test it for a week or so. I think that's just going to happen normally with life. But it is resisting the urge to be the superhero with your cape and jump in and do everything for them. Yes, you're going to be the best at it. Yes, you're going to be the fastest. But the master stroke, or the thing that I always want to lead with, is whenever there's problems that arise in the business, the first thing that I want to ask is, yes, I have a solution, but what have you already tried? To train that forward thinking in my team, or in the employees, is, yes, I have a solution for you, but first, what do you think we should do? / what have you already tried? And that's how I would start that.
Yeah, and we've implemented some of that already too. And I'm just interested to hear other people's thoughts who have a larger team, especially because that's the direction that we're all headed. I've heard, I don't know enough about it, that as you grow, you learn to work through people and how to start that process while you're small. Like I said, we have 4 people in our company currently, and trying to double that by the end of the year. And the small issues that come up as people are getting more and more independent, which is awesome. Small failures are great because they show progress, I think. And it's not really a system breakdown. It's just kind of the people misusing the system. But especially when you step away for a couple days, you realize how much of that you're being the Band-Aid for and holding the system together. And so it's none of the problems that we're having or any major crisis or anything. A lot of it's just the system growing. But I was just curious to see if someone has a system for intentionally letting the system fail every so often, kind of with a plan to rebuild it, knowing that maybe that helps the system grow better, stronger, faster, rather than waiting longer and feeling maybe more comfortable every day that the system is going according to plan. How do we push that to grow as fast as possible, maybe through minor failures?
Yeah, one thing that our boss always teaches us is define, act, measure, refine. And you as a business owner, as a CEO, that is like your top priority. With every system in the business, with every position, your job is to define the issue. What's the problem? Where's the breakdown? We've defined it. Act upon it. And so here's the new game plan on how to solve it. We're going to take action. We're going to measure the result of that action, and then we're going to refine the process. And so anytime that this happens for you, where you step away, that is the mindset I want you to have: the defined, act, measure, refine. And if you are consistently doing that and you are tangibly giving people tools, a lot of times I see clients, oh, well, I've communicated this so many times, I don't know why they can't do it. You can probably communicate till your face is blue. Is it written down somewhere? Do we have a checklist? People are not smart. I hate to say it, and they're not going to think the way you do. And so we have to have a system that they can follow. And so you need to have that mindset of define, act, measure, refine. And if you are doing that, Brandon, and if you have given them the tools they need to succeed, and it's still not happening, at that point, it might be a personnel issue. You've done everything that you can, you know? And then we can kind of dive into that. You know, it's just ultimately not the right fit. But I would just approach any situation like that with, this is an opportunity to enhance this process, to define, act, measure, refine.
Say, Brandon, here's a shorter answer. Maybe not as good as Nicole's, but every new little shop that we buy and we flip a lot of companies, and a lot of them are 4, 5, 6 guys, which is, I'm glad I'm on here because it kind of brings me back. But I used to start by taking the first thing I would do in a business is I'd screw a whiteboard to the wall. Okay. A dry erase board. Sounds dumb, but like Nicole said, is it written down somewhere? Because listen, you can talk and talk and talk and talk. If you don't write it down, if you don't have a process, it's all about process. And if you want to scale your company, you might as well write a book. We call it service path. So every company we buy, I'm in the concrete business. What we do is we compare our service path. So we've got a definitive way to do everything, right? Everything, every single step all the way through. And if it's written down, you hire a new person, you can basically show them exactly what their job is by the service path. You don't deviate. And it's what the military does when they bring new recruits in. They're on a path. They know exactly what they're supposed to do, where the lines are, where the borders are. And I think it's the fastest way to grow is by showing them. But I would say my answer is write it down and have it on this whiteboard so they know what they're doing. As dumb as that sounds, I still use it to this day, and it works.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second that. I've got one screwed to the wall in the shop right by the van. Here's the
Good.
stuff
Yes.
you need to bring. It'd be good to get a cup of coffee with you, Steve, when you're in Minnesota. I'm on the east side of the metro. So
Really? What
yeah.
what do you do, Brandon?
We're remodeling and handyman. And Travis is helping us with a membership program that's pretty cool too. So
My company in Minneapolis is called Concrete Science.
oh yeah, I've seen your company around.
That's
So-
a good one. We're in the middle of a roll up with private equity right now, so we're running around the country buying a bunch of stuff up. It's fun.
Yeah. Would love to get some more insight on that too.
Sure.
Yes, I love that. Love the connections. And I also love, Stephen, that it's like sometimes the simplest answer is the best one. Just break it down, write it down somewhere, make sure they're following it. A lot of times it's just the simple answer is the best. Clayton, I've seen your hand up for a minute here, sir. I want to give you an opportunity if you want to unmute and tell us what's going on.
I may hit it on accident. I'm on another call.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm a little disappointed that Clayton didn't share his win today, that he got married a couple weeks ago. And so that was a big win that he got to share with us. And he also he does fishing trips on the weekend. And I don't know if you can share photos in the chat, Clayton, but sharing some photos of he's catching just huge amounts of fish. It's wild.
I'll see how I can do that.
Yes. All right. What other questions do we have here today, guys? Questions, concerns, grievances? Jordan, that's cute. Catching on and off the water. He sure has. All right, guys. Any questions about jobs, personnel?
So tell me about Redmond Growth. What is it you do?
Yeah, so Stephen, we would love to set you up with one of our onboarders who can kind of give you a download of like all of the different things that we provide in the different packages and offers and stuff like that. I think that would be best. And if one of the current clients wants to explain what we've done for them, that might actually be a more tangible way. Dale Eads, I don't know if you're still on the call, if you just want to put in the chat kind of what we've done for you, or kind of, I would love to know how a client would explain what we do. It's in the name, growth. You are correct, Dale. Yeah, so how I like to explain what we do here, Stephen, is it's like having a personal trainer for your business. Just like you would hire a personal trainer for your fitness to help you create something sustainable that's going to get you to your goals. That's what we do. And so we help clients from anything from helping them with hiring systems to how to manage employees, closing ratios, tracking, even with the marketing, so increasing their leads so that they can be pickier or be more focused on their ideal likely buyer. And so we kind of fill in that gap there. Scott, I saw you throw up your hand. I don't know if you're wanting to comment.
Yeah, on that, I say you're using a fitness trainer or a coach, like the sports analogy. It's not that you don't know what you're doing and that you can't do it, but sometimes when you're down in the trenches, you need that perspective of someone from a distance looking at you and saying, if it's a golfer, you can feel like he's done everything, but he's swinging just a little off, not bad. He just needs a little direction. Hey, you're pulling your head up just a little too quick. And that's how I feel like what you guys do for us is like just keep us focused on the main thing. Sometimes when you're involved in everything and in the day to day, sometimes you start losing a little bit of focus, and you need somebody to kind of bring you back and give you a little check and say, hey, if you're letting this slide, you need to pay attention here, pay attention there. And then beyond that, all the stuff you guys do with Google and the marketing and stuff is phenomenal. So that's to me, that's on top of the coaching.
Oh,
That's
Scott.
awesome. That's perfect.
Thank you. Appreciate you chiming in there. But yeah, Stephen, if you're interested, just reach out and we'll get you booked with one of the onboarders to just get more information and to see if it'd be a good fit, what you're looking for.
All right, I will do that.
Yeah. What other questions do we have here today, guys? Concerns, grievances? Going once. Going
All right.
twice.
You got a
So,
happy
Oh,
group.
oh, I think we may
oh,
have just got
nice.
one.
This is interesting. Someone's using the Google Meet tools. We haven't had that one before. Good job, Jonathan. He said, how do you get out of the referral network and build new relationships?
Great question. Like essentially, Jonathan, you're like, how do I expand outside of my like current customer database? Is that kind of,
Maybe I'll just go ahead and jump on and talk.
we
Explain
love
it here.
that. Do it.
Well, basically, every single one of my customers comes from one man. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate this man. Basically, has built my business to, generating about $500,000 a year. But the scenario is, when the referrals stop giving me work, I have to wait until I get another referral or get more work from those original referrals. So, I'm just wondering, what's the best way to build new relationships with people? I mainly work for developers and HOAs. I do low voltage construction. So ultimately just trying to figure out the best way to kind of develop those new relationships with developers, HOAs that I don't have contact with, and that cold introduction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll give a little tidbit here. With low voltage in particular, there's not a ton of competition when it comes to Google. So low voltage contractor I worked with in the Las Vegas area. Didn't think it was going to do a whole lot for them, but it actually was pretty easy to rank even just after they got 30 reviews on their Google business listing. And so what we like to say is if you're primarily getting word of mouth work right now, in this day and age, you can actually capture word of mouth. And the way that that's captured is in the form of reviews and more importantly, or more specifically, rather, Google reviews. So as much as you can, get some reviews from friends and family, and that builds a credibility that's not just you speaking about yourself whenever you have these cold interactions. You can point people to reference points like your Google business listing, like your website. I wouldn't expect them to find you so much as it is a thing that you can point them back to. As far as generating new, more commercial contracts, you've already done a lot of the work, it sounds like, in identifying who your main clientele are. To be able to duplicate that or replicate that, you know that it's mostly HOAs and developers. So we call it Dream 100. There's a lot of stuff on there that we have about it. There's even stuff on the general internet about that too. But it's pounding the pavement, kind of old school style of reaching out to people and being consistent. A lot of times it's that persistence of relationship of, a small gift of bringing donuts in the office whenever you come to say hey and put your name out there. That's what I've seen be the most successful for low voltage companies in particular.
Oh yeah. Any company that does a lot of like commercial stuff or those types of relationships, like we have a client, Surface Renew, that does bathtub and countertop refinishing. So they work with a lot of HOAs, a lot of apartment complexes. And it was, I don't think last year, but the year before last, they did $1 million in bathtub refinishing alone from Dream 100 work. And you can get real cute with it. What they do is they have little plastic bathtubs, like little toy bathtubs that they get in bulk from Amazon. They fill them up with candy and then they put their business card on the side of it. They just tape that sucker on, and that's what they bring to people. And that is going to sit on that person's desk because they're going to want to eat that candy. And then they're seeing that Surface Renew sticker. And so it's that top of mind awareness. It really allows you to get in front of your ideal likely buyers. And anybody who is concerned about this year, about the economy, about the election, about inflation, if anybody is concerned, Nicole, what if people stop looking on Google? What if people stop searching? The Dream 100 is a great way to keep your pipeline full because it is not search volume dependent. It's another way that you can consistently get work and leads that's not dependent on necessarily what's going on Google. And so it's a great other avenue to have leads coming in. And so if it's not something that you have currently going, I would really recommend talking to your coach and getting a system put together. Laura with Pierce Electric, she said, subscribe to your local builders exchange and network with GCs, also with property managers. I think that there's a lot of wisdom in that. And I think you just have to really nurture those relationships, you know, and stay in front of them. But yeah, there's a lot of wisdom there too. Jonathan, I hope we answered your question. If we didn't, let us know. Any other questions that we have here today? Laura, I think you're butt dialing us.
So this Dream 100, and everybody else has heard this, I'm sure, but what, just in 2 minutes, what is it, Nicole?
Yeah. So we didn't coin this term. It's a concept that was written by Chet Holmes. He's the author of The Ultimate Sales Machine, which is a good book, but it's a really big one. If you guys are looking for a book on sales, I've got some that are going to be a little bit more beneficial, I think. And there's only a small section in that book that's kind of about the Dream 100, but that's where we got the concept and the idea. And essentially, it's a marketing process that's really dependent upon you or somebody in your business nurturing these leads. So the first start is we create a list of all these people who could either refer you out or hire you directly. And so kind of, yeah, and we like to call it the Dream 100 because we like to get as many names on there as possible. You want to get as big of a list as you can. HOAs, real estate agents, GCs, home builders, whoever who could either refer you out or hire you directly. And then we help people with email campaigns to this list, trying to book appointments with these people to kind of pitch. Then we also have call scripts that either yourself or our office manager can use to try to call and get them booked for appointment, just to explain why they should refer you. And then the last step of it, and this is the most effective, is doing the drop-offs, whether it's a box of donuts, a little goodie bag, something with your one sheets or your business cards, and you're just showing face. You're not high pressure salesing anybody. You're just saying, hey, if you ever need blank service, we'd love to be given a chance. In the meantime, enjoy this, you know, and you're just leaving a goodie. People aren't too mad at solicitors who bring them donuts, is kind of the concept behind that. So one of my clients, Whole House Cabinetry, which is also in Minnesota, they have booked, I would say 80 to 90% of their work this year has been from simply us just sending emails to their Dream 100 list. And then they're getting these home builders and these GCs that are consistently using them. And that's been really fueling their pipeline outside of what they get from Google.
The other thing that I'd add to the Dream 100 that makes it so effective is you do all those things, but you don't just do it once, right? Whenever you're contacting these companies, the first time you outreach to them, they're probably not going to go with you, right? But it's a systemized approach. It's a scheduled approach for outbound activity to other businesses to build those relationships. So the more you run that system, the more familiar they become with you. And the more maybe they weren't looking for somebody that offered your service the first time you contacted them, but after you've done it a couple times, maybe the person they were using, for whatever reason, they're looking for a remodeler, a plumber, an electrician, a concrete guy, whatever, you know, and now you have opportunity and you're the first person that comes to their mind. So Dream 100, the real beauty in it is the consistency and executing it over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, our best sales guy in Minnesota, he's been with me for maybe 3 years. And you basically describe what he does. He doesn't even know that much about concrete, to be honest with you. It's almost all residential leads. We generate about 250 leads a week in Minneapolis. And John, I think he makes about 210,000 a year on commission for me. And he's really good because he basically builds these things, and everybody else thinks it's corny to be dropping donuts off, and I'm a huge advocate of that. I mean, it's like I'm 60 years old, and that's how I got there, right? Of course, we use Google, we lead gen, we're doing all that stuff anyway for residential, but for commercial or HOA, we build apartments. We do tons of renovation work on apartment buildings and things like that. You got to go like old school guerrilla, you know, dropping the donuts, and you got to keep it up and be consistent. But I may be interested in your program for some of our sales guys in some of these other markets, because a lot of them are young and they had never had to do it. I see Scott's got gray hair like I do, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you're so right, and that's why people aren't mad when you solicit with like donuts. Or you're not high pressure salesing. It's because they're not used to it these days. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. Like this is so, I'm used to people blowing up my phone and email, but like this is really sweet. People are usually like taken back by it in a good way. So,
yeah.
Okay, well, guys, what we have.
I would say too, Steve, if you do have some of your younger guys join up with the program, they, especially on a call like this, they're around a lot of other young people who are interested in being out there doing it. And so that would be probably pretty encouraging too. Like you're not just telling them to do it. They're seeing a lot of other people maybe in their age group that are really out pushing and asking a lot of the same questions they might be frustrated with.
Well, I think the key, that's fair. I get that. And I don't live in Minnesota anymore, but I still own that company. But I do know, I'm online every day trying to find forums like this that make a lot of sense. This is probably a good one because for a lot of the small shops, there's a lot of young guys and they just haven't been through it yet, right? Like you.
Yep.
And you got 4 employees or whatever it is. I mean, for whatever you're doing, there's so much work out there. It's ridiculous right now. And you don't have to try very hard at all to get the work. But I would say in concrete at any rate, it's a difficult business because you're dealing with raw materials that show up on the job that somebody else made, right? The weather, you got all these factors, and we do extremely well. But it's because we've got a process first. So last year out of 2,000 projects in Minneapolis, St. Paul, our callback rate was 0.03. That was our warranty rate. But that's like me grinding it out for the last 30 years, making sure
to get it there.
Right. So I'm telling you, if I've learned anything I could share with a young guy or somebody just starting out their business, focus on doing it right first and the work will come. Right. I know our residential referral rate is up to 86% in Minnesota, that's a lot of work to get there. But I'm telling you, my marketing has gone from $400,000 or $500,000 a year to like $150,000 a year on Google spend.
Nice.
I mean, it's getting better all the time. I mean, and dumb things like yard signs and just stupid donuts or whatever you want to. I mean, you got to use it all. I mean, there's no silver bullet. You got to do all of it, right?
Mm.
So,
Amen. Amen, Stephen.
No, good for you.
Yes. Well, guys, I really appreciate the feedback here today. If you didn't feel like you got a question answered or want more clarity, please don't hesitate to email your coach. It's what we're here for. We love to see it. And if you would love for you guys to be coming to these calls with these questions, kind of anticipating it. Felix Kai, I see you here, sir. I wanted to give you a shout out. Robert Redmond has been texting me during this call, and he just wanted to let you know that he appreciates you being here, and he is out for the next week, but he is going to be giving you a call soon and would love to connect. So, Felix, good to see you, sir. Glad you're here.
Hey, thanks, Nicole.
Yes.
I'm just listening in here. I really like what Stephen had to say about the process and the expectations. I have that same thought that you got to have those expectations lined out for those new employees, right? As they're coming in the door, that's your best opportunity. That is to change an employee midstream is your hardest, but to bring them in with clear expectations right from the beginning is your best opportunity to mold that employee to do what you want. And then having that process is just a constant. The more the process you do, the more you're going to learn you need to do. And it's just ongoing, especially in some of those more intricate trades like we do in electrical. They all have their different processes and ways and check marks and QCs and you name it, just ongoing. But you got to get that in the handbook and right from the beginning, so that everybody knows what they're doing from the start. And that's the best way to get performance. It's also the best way to find out who you're going to keep, right?
Yes.
Because you want to hire slow and fire quick, right? You want to get these guys in and make sure they're going to work for you. So that's my input.
Yes.
Just kind of, tagging along with Steve there.
Yes. Well, preach, Felix. You're invited to any group calls you want to attend, sir. We love having you here. And Robert, I know, is wanting to connect with you soon. So
Awesome.
appreciate you. Yes. All right, guys, we're going to close out this group call the same way we close out every group call. And so if I could get all parties to unmute here, we're going to end it with a big 3, 2, 1 growth. So if you're not unmuted already, go ahead and unmute. And we're going to do a 3, 2, 1 growth.
Growth.
Oh, bye,
Let's
guys.
go,
Have a good
boys
week.
and girls.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Amazing.